Hello, everyone. Welcome back to whatever I've been calling this series, childhood superheroes or whatever. This look back at these old superhero and supervillain drawings I did. I'm near Photosan. Hopefully, this isn't your first episode, but just in case. So when we left off, we had just gotten to Graft here. Just a reminder that we're in the villains now. And Graft was a villain that I had made based off of Dungeons and Dragons book. At one point I was just kind of looking through Dungeons and Dragons spells or psionic powers or something like that. I think it was psionic powers, and just trying to find superpowers in there that I thought were unique or that hadn't been really heavily used. And there was a power that was called Graft, I believe. That was just to turn limbs into weapons, or it may have been to fuse weapons into your limbs. I don't really remember, but I think it was just to basically trade out your forearm for a sword, which is what you see here, or something like that. And so Graft, the character, was supposed to be this blue collar guy, I think a construction worker, who had gotten exposed to Viglanium somehow and accidentally gained this ability to create weapons. And he's not like the brightest guy. Like, he's not stupid, but he's not a very intelligent person or an intellectual person. But he is a person that's motivated to better his station in life. So once he gets this power, he starts using it to commit kind of petty crimes. Like, being able to turn your arm into a sword isn't going to make it so that you can, like, pull off huge supervillain deeds. But he's kind of a small time criminal who uses his power, and that's basically it. There's not a lot more to him than that. But I thought the idea was kind of cool. This drawing I don't like, though. I wish I had done a better one. Something's all kinds of wrong with this. Anyway, they can't all be winners. Hangman. This was originally a Captain Cold drawing. I recognize my reference from this one. But Hangman was one of the serial killer supervillains that I had made up for Shadow to fight. I mentioned before that when I was talking about, like, the Doctor, that I had several supervillains who I had made up that were just kind of like serial killers, or like mundane but still kind of weird and interesting type supervillains. And the Hangman was a serial killer who by day was just like a banker or a businessman or something. You can kind of tell he's supposed to be wearing a suit underneath here, and he's got these glasses. But then he would put on this hood and go out and find people and basically lynch them. He would hang them. Like, that's how he got the name. That was like what the papers were calling the serial killer, and then the Shadow would have stopped him, and that was going to be it. I don't think he had more than one appearance, because I don't think there's a whole lot you can do with a character like that. Like, obviously he's a very disturbed person for doing something like that, but I think once you stopped him and put him away, really the only other thing you could do is just have him escape and do the same thing again, and that wouldn't lead to anything terribly interesting. Some of Shadow's supervillains were supposed to get powers later, like the Boston Bomber, but Hangman was not one of them. I don't think he was going to appear outside of that one story. Moving on, Hardway. So Hardway basically just spun out of like a I don't know if you'd call it a pun, but there's the saying, you can do things the easy way or the hard way. And the idea was that criminal organizations like the Mafia or something like that would use Hardway as this kind of assassin / enforcer. So basically, it would set up for them to be like, when dealing with a person who wasn't cooperating or who they wanted to like bully or blackmail or whatever, they'd be like, well, we can do things the easy way or the hard way. And the easy way would be to do whatever the Mafia wants, and the hard way would be that this guy would be sicked on you. And he just had, I think these were supposed to be katanas, but they just look like he's holding two sticks. But he was just like a modern day ninja guy. Like, he would take out enemies of like the organized crime. Maybe he was even connected to the Driscolls, now that I think about it. I don't know if you guys remember the Driscolls were these like this evil businessman, father and son. I'm gonna try to find the pictures of them. Yeah, these two, Shane and Vince McMahon. He might have worked for them. Now I think about it, because they were like posed as very successful businessmen, like real estate tycoons or something like that. But also ran these like secret criminal organizations, and so he might have been an enforcer for them specifically. Because I don't think I had very many evil organizations that were like on the like businessy side, like a mafia. Most of them were like cults or something like that. So yeah, that's probably what his intention was, to be like an enforcer for the Driscolls. Moving on, Hawk. I remember my thought process in making this character, but I don't remember if I had any other ideas. But I remember there was a period when I was like 14 or 15 maybe, where I was really into Hawkman in the DC comics. And like I was just kind of learning about the character and trying to figure out more about him, because he'd always just been like this, just like a member of a team, and I hadn't paid him much attention. But when I started thinking about Hawkman, and like the way he was designed, where he had this really like manly, masculine look, but then he had these like beautiful wings, and I just started thinking like I like the idea of like a roughneck, like hard nosed, like blue collar type working day man having this really angelic power. And I wish I hadn't gone with Hawk, since Hawkman was the inspiration. But like, just the more I thought about it, the more I kind of liked it. So I wanted to have a character who was like Graft, just like a blue collar, hardworking, manual labor type guy, who had this kind of manly, like Stone Cold or Bill Goldberg type look, but then had these big angel wings. That he got through some kind of incident with Vibranium. And that's really all there is to it. Like, I never developed a story or character for him. It was just kind of an aesthetic that I found interesting, I wanted to use. I got rid of the bird mask so I could make him look a bit more like just like a normal guy. But he's got these angel wings, and he also has these kind of hawk eyes. Because his powers were that he could fly, and he had like hawk-like vision. Like, he could see really far. And that's kind of it. So, yeah, there's not a lot more to say about him. Hellhound. Okay, so I don't remember. I think this guy just could communicate with dogs. At the time, I thought that was kind of unique. Like, not like there's people that can talk to animals in superhero comics, but I hadn't seen one that was just specifically focused on dogs. Now that I'm older and I've seen more things, I know that there's a character in Hunter x Hunter that's kind of basically the same thing, but I hadn't read Hunter x Hunter yet and didn't know that character. But the real story behind this character is that when I was making a batch of superheroes based on wrestlers, not the Driscolls, but the characters were based on like Undertaker and Kane, and I was trying to create villains for specifically for the Undertaker character Redemption. One of the big feuds I wanted to try to incorporate into his storyline was with DX, and so this is from DX. This was my take on Road Dogg as like a supervillain character, which is why he's got like the headband, and that's really kind of it. He was just part of this DX group. I don't think we've seen anyone else from it, or if we have, I didn't remember that that's where they were from. This one was a lot more obvious, so it was easy for me to remember, oh yeah, that was Road Dogg. But yeah, so I renamed him Hellhound, and I think he had just like these dogs that he could communicate with, that were like well trained and loyal, and he could use as like attack dogs. But I don't think he had any other powers himself beyond the ability to control these dogs, which I do think was like a superpower thing. It wasn't just that they were really well trained dogs. I think it was based on like Vibranium giving him the ability to communicate with them directly, kind of like Aquaman does with fish. It's just specifically for canines, for whatever reason he couldn't talk to like other animals. But that's it for him. Junkyard Monster. I could have sworn we talked about. I'm thinking of the robot character. So Junkyard Monster is not a robot, even though he's all metal here. Some of you may remember that there was a special manufactured version of Viglanium that was put together by this evil cult-like organization that I don't think we've seen any members of yet. But the way it worked was, instead of just kind of giving you like a random power in order to try and control it, what it would instead do was kind of give you a power based on whatever you're in contact with. And I think Junkyard Monster came around from that. Like, I think he ended up exposed to it somehow in relation to like a bunch of scrap metal, and it just kind of turned him into this metal person. So he's kind of like Colossus, except he can't change back into a normal human. And also, instead of like looking all shiny and futuristic, he's just like garbage. He's just like all this like random metal everywhere. There's all these screws all over him. I don't know why I drew all these screws, but like he's got kind of this chaotic, messy look. But beyond that, he's just like a strong guy. He's just a metal person. And anything like whatever you would assume when you see like a 6'10" or however tall he was supposed to be guy made of metal, like that's him. That's all there is to it. There's not anything more to that. I don't think he had any kind of personality or motivations or anything worked out yet. It was just the concept of like a person made of scrap metal. Moving on, Limbo was I wanted to make a character that could travel between shadows and kind of control shadows, but basically just use them as like a teleportation method. So like if he was in a dark room, he could basically be anywhere instantaneously, but in a light room he could like shrink into his shadow, and you would like see the shadow move across the wall, and he would pop out of it like here. That's what's supposed to be happening here. Like there's a shadow on the wall, and then he's popping out of the shadow. I think that was basically it. Design-wise, he seems to be based off of the Legacy of Kain video game. I think that I was taking some design inspiration from that. I'm not positive, but that's what I'm reminded of looking at it now, anyway. And this was that was all there was to him. No, that's not right. There was something more, but I can't remember what it was. I feel bad that I can't, but rather than sit here and try to remember, I'll just say that like I think he had some kind of backstory or like a romantic angle with a heroine character or something like that. But I can't remember the specifics or like who was involved. I just remember that there was I had some kind of plan for this character beyond just the power. But it's been too long, and I can't remember. It's been too long since I've thought about Limbo. Anyway, Lord Lazarus. Ah, crap. Lord Lazarus was, oh man, I apologize. I know that he was part of a group. Maybe just a duo. I think it may have just been him and like a female partner, but I can't remember who. Maybe actually he might have been tied to Firebrand. Sorry, I'm doing so much flipping backwards here. I just for some reason I'm remembering her, but I don't. I already I retroactively tied her to Dark Fusion now, but I don't know. Maybe I'm off base, but I seem to recall him being partnered with at least one other character, and I wish I could remember more about him. Like I named him Lazarus, but I don't think I knew who Lazarus was. I think I just had the name in my head. Probably not even from the Bible. Probably from like Batman or something like the Lazarus Pits or something. Because he's obviously got like a fire power, but I think he had other superpowers. Because I remember when I was making this character, I remember I had like a list of superpowers that I thought was like a unique and interesting combination, but it's completely escaping me now. It may have not have even been all that unique. Like it may have just been like standard superpowers, but also fire. Rather than like normally you would have like if you had somebody who could fly and was like super strong or fast or whatever, then they wouldn't need fire powers. And the people with fire powers usually just had the fire powers, but I wanted to attach the fire powers to other powers. I don't think that was it though. I want to say he could like go through walls, and since I named him Lazarus, let's just go ahead and say that he also had like healing powers. So, like maybe not come back from the dead, but like he could regenerate. So we're just making stuff up now at this point. But I think that makes sense for him. If I was going to try to pick this character up now, I'd probably go with something like that, because I think he had like some kind of unique combination of powers. They weren't unique powers on their own, but I hadn't seen a character that had those powers together, and that makes sense to me. Like those three, I like it's just a weird set of powers that you wouldn't expect somebody to have all three of those. But that's really it. So moving on, Magno was my first attempt to make a magnetic supervillain, because I like Magneto from the X-Men. I really like Magneto. When I was a kid, it was just because of his powers, and as I got older, I got to understand the character behind the superpowers better too, and I liked him even more. So I've always liked Magneto, and I think Magno was my attempt to try and create somebody like Magneto, but at an early stage. This isn't the original Magno drawing. The original one was more like this. It was a full body drawing. I also just incorporated some design elements I'd been wanting to use, mostly the hood with the eyes cut out, which I think is taken from like a Silver Age DC Comics character, like maybe Hourman? I don't remember. It's like a Justice Society character that I can't remember for sure right now because I'm having trouble pulling up their designs in my head. But I know that I had been wanting to use the idea. So he's got like this hood that's also a cape, and then the hood has the eyes cut out in it and actually comes down over his eyes, so it's also the mask. I just thought that was cool, and I wanted to use that, and I wanted to make a magnet guy, and so I just threw those things together. I don't think he had any of the like interesting backstory or motivations or anything like that of Magneto. It was just the superpowers. But that was it. I think I was going to try to do more with him as I went, and it just didn't really happen. Manslayer. Well, you know what? I don't remember, I don't remember anything about this guy. I do remember, like, this wasn't supposed to be a scar. It was supposed to be, like, just shadows, like the black shadows down here. But for some reason, I drew it really weird, and it kind of ended up becoming a scar. So, like, you can read it however you want. I think I just had this aesthetic of a guy in suspenders. I don't, like, I really don't remember what I was seeing with this character. Like, I think he's just like a typical flying brick type character. And he might have, I want to say he was part of a group, but I don't even know what group it would have been necessarily. I just don't remember anything about this guy. Anyway, we're starting to get to the point where I'm not going to be able to finish this episode, but I am getting a little bit close. So I'm going to stop after Maxima here. I mentioned with Hellhound that there was a group of supervillains who were based on D-Generation X from WWF, and Maxima here is based on China. Just the big, powerful woman character, and that's really all there is to her, unfortunately. I wish I had a little bit more to say, but I always liked having the muscle in the group be female, and luckily DX was a real-life group of characters where that was the case. Like, the Triple H was strong in DX, but China was always, like, booked as being the muscle of the group, which I liked. I thought it was cool. And it was the same with this group. I don't remember if this supervillain team had a name, and I don't remember for sure who else was in the team. Hopefully I'll recognize them when I come across them. Like, I'm sure there's somebody based on X-Pac who's probably in the X's when we get down to there. I don't know about Billy Gunn or Triple H, or if there was a Shawn Michaels in the group, but I hope I would recognize them. I'm just not sure. Anyway, Maxima was China, and Hellhound was Road Dogg, so we got two of them out of that group. I'm kind of having fun piecing together some of the mystery here, some of the puzzle, because I just don't remember for a lot of these. Like this guy, I'm drawing a complete blank on him. I think the original. I remember the original drawing that I based this off of better than I do Manslayer itself, in that it was like a Nazi like villain, like a Nazi Superman character or something, and I just used that, but this character I don't think was a Nazi. I don't know, maybe he was. I don't remember. I really don't. Anyway, that's where we're gonna close off. We'll come back next week. We've got two interesting looking characters here that we will start off with, and we'll just keep going on through. But we're in the M's now in the villains, so we're getting close to finishing. I don't know how many episodes there are left, but hopefully you guys have been enjoying this, and if you have, come back next week, and there should be another part posted then. So I'll see you guys then. Bye.